In Lecture 1 we saw that there is a hierarchy of compassion that works in all areas of the cosmos, and that the branch of this hierarchy that is working on our planet is called the Lodge of Wisdom and Compassion. The commonality between the members of this hierarchy is that they have consciously chosen to support all other beings in their development. They have come to this conclusion because, in their search for truth, they have seen and experienced that unity is the foundation of all that lives, that we are all part of a universal brotherhood, and that it is therefore most logical and most natural to always support this unity. Compassion based on unity is therefore the motive by which they live. In her book, The Voice of the Silence, H.P. Blavatsky writes the following: compassion is no attribute, it is the law of laws. And this gives us something to ponder over. Because although compassion is sometimes hard to find in our society, it forms the basis for all the thoughts and actions of all the members of the hierarchy of compassion. In their process of growth, they have all examined the processes in life. The vision they have formed of these processes has been carefully constructed. Moreover, they have done this in close cooperation with each other. Over many and many centuries of research, these sages and seers have only accepted the insights as true when these have been proven to be true, through careful testing, verification, experimentation, and application in life. In this way, they have gained such a complete understanding of the processes of life and death, of cause and effect, and are so familiar with the hierarchical structure of the cosmos, of which they themselves are a part, that they are able to work in complete harmony with these processes. Moreover, they have done this for so long that this knowledge is not something that has remained outside of them, but has become so much part of them that they have literally become this knowledge or wisdom. If we now look at where we as human beings are on our infinite pilgrimage, we can say that we as a humanity have not yet formed such a comprehensive picture of unity and universal brotherhood. To a large extent, we still identify ourselves with our personality. When making decisions, we are often primarily concerned with advantage for ourselves and forget the connection with the whole. We think and live in the illusion that we are separate beings, that we are disconnected from each other, or we do see that there is a connection between all living things, but we do not attach ethical consequences to it. This, and therefore we only have to look around us, results in infinite suffering and disharmony. Plato very clearly describes this illusion of separateness in his metaphor of the cave, in which men, chained by their own thinking, look at shadows on the wall of that cave, and mistakenly take these shadows for a reality, not realizing that behind these shadows lies a deeper truth, that a deeper or more inner causes underlying these shadows, and that it is precisely by gaining insight into these deeper causes that we are able to bring our lives much more in accordance with the laws of nature and live in harmony with each other. The Lodge of Wisdom and Compassion attempts to inspire us to acquire more knowledge and insight into these processes of life. And in this lecture, we will look at how they work, because if we can form a vision of this and understand at least something of their way of working, we can also recognize their methods, and we are able to harmonize with the wisdom they bring and apply it in our lives. And how could they now pass on this wisdom to us? How will they do that wisely? And how can they pass what they have acquired with so much difficulty, with so much hard work, and that penetrates so deeply into all processes in nature in such a way that we can handle it properly? Wisdom, which, when we receive it, also gives us responsibility, and which, if we do not understand it properly, can also be misused. Could they simply pass on this knowledge by publishing a school book with some explanations and numbers and exercises? Would that enable us to become compassionate and truly understand the processes of life? No, say the masters themselves. Passing on wisdom is not a matter of teaching a certain grammar, facts, words, or technical skills. Mastering universal wisdom has more to do with developing an inner attitude, a mentality, and a motive for the way we organize our lives. What matters is wanting to be wise out of compassion, or wanting to develop compassion out of wisdom. Let us now take a closer look at this approach. At first, the lodge of wisdom and compassion is on the thinking level, constantly attuned to universal ideas such as unity, universal brotherhood, and compassion. The entire lives are focused on forming and spreading this wisdom, which means that a constant stream of inspiration emanates from them. And this inspiration can be seen as a continuous stream of inspiration and compassion arising from the cosmic heart as presented in Lecture 1. Now that stream of inspiration can be received by anyone who is attuned to it. Your nationality, your origin, your gender, color, religion play not the slightest role of significance in this. These are merely external characteristics. Now, for the development of universal wisdom, it is important how you are inwardly attuned. If we consider that compassion is the motive or the underlying tone from which the lodge of wisdom and compassion operates, then compassion is consequently the frequency by which this stream of wisdom is transmitted by them. If we want to be able to tune ourselves to this stream, we have to become in accordance with it. Sender and receiver will then become attuned to each other. How this can be done will be explained more in detail in Lecture 3. But for now, we can say it is important that we learn to let go our self-centeredness. We can do this, for example, by attuning our thoughts and actions on the greater whole. By focusing our thoughts and actions on how we can help others, or by thinking about how problems in the world can be solved, and on what principles our solution will then be based. And the more we succeed, the more we will become ourselves also a part of this stream of inspiration. Some mystics, philosophers, writers, musicians, artists, or scientists are known to have had moments of inspiration. And we can imagine that this happens when they are focused on expressing something of the unity or of the interconnectedness of all life. Or when they want to inspire people to open up, to live more from the heart. We want to emphasize that these are only examples and that receiving and passing on this inspiration is possible for everyone. This continuous stream of inspiration is therefore always present, and at certain moments in time, this stream is strengthened and brought from the inner to the outer worlds by the lodge. We could see these moments as an eruption, or as a heartbeat, as an amplified impulse originating from the heart of the universe. And this is done at moments when the cosmic conditions are most suitable for it. In Lecture 1, we just have seen that all development is always cyclical, and this means that we as humanity also develop psychically. And the transition from the one cycle to the other is such a suitable cosmic moment. Each new cycle marks the beginning of a new phase of development that we as humanity will go through. The impulses that are brought at these moments can be seen as spiritual food or the keynote for our spiritual development. By attuning ourselves to it, we can truly achieve the growth that is possible for us during this certain period of time. To bring an impulse, the Lodge always sends a messenger. And these messengers are known to us, as we also talked about in Lecture 1, by the names of Gautama the Buddha, Jesus the Nazarene, Plato, and Lao Tzu. But what exactly makes these men are chosen for this task? And the answer is, to be honest, quite simple. They are the most highly developed men. They have gained so much insight in the processes of nature and have become such a living expression of it that they are able to pass on these impulses pure and undisturbed. And because the core of the message brought by all these messengers is always the same immortal and unchangeable wisdom, you may wonder whether these new impulses are really necessary. But yes, these impulses are necessary because we have not sufficiently taken up the previous impulse. As a result, we no longer see the value of it. Or the effect of the impulses has degenerated. For example, because it has been modified due to a lack of knowledge or insight, thereby removing the core or the heart of the teaching, so it is left with a limited inspirational effect. Because true wisdom can only come from within, the teachings are presented in such a way that they encourage us to reflect on them and to think them over by ourselves. And in addition to this, there are people at many different stages of development. Some may be new on this path of inner growth, some may not have entered it at all, while others may have already gained more experience. In order to bring the teachings in such a way that they are open, challenging, and inspiring for everyone, the messengers bring both a more external and a more internal doctrine. The outer doctrine is called exoteric and means outer, and is also called the I doctrine, because what is given in this doctrine is closely connected to what we can perceive with our senses. This teaching is given to inspire people to think about life. They do this, for example, by telling tales, myths, legends, heroic stories, and drama. And in this way they encourage us to reflect on our higher qualities, such as ethics, truth, courage, honesty, dignity, and justice. And in addition, as we saw in Lecture 1, they provide also more comprehensive teachings through books, in which the basic ideas about the boundless unity of life, the origin of the cosmos, the place of humanity within the greater whole and its destiny in it, are presented. By these works, some of the fields of the processes in nature are lifted, such as the process of life and death and cause and effect, and the way in which we as humanity can cooperate and develop harmoniously. The way in which these impulses are brought is always attuned to the consciousness and mentality of the humanity in a particular time. Therefore, the outward forms of these impulses are always different, but the core or the heart of these teachings is always the same immortal and unchangeable wisdom originating from the same source. We see this, for example, in the various wisdom books, such as those of Lao Tzu's, Tao Te Ching, the Bible, the Upanishads, the Vedas, or the works of Plato. And the last comprehensive book originating from this tradition is The Secret Doctrine by H.P. Blavatsky, which expresses the most recent manifestation of universal wisdom, with which, as is told, we can work for the next 10,000 years. In order to constantly remind humanity that we, as an inseparable part of the whole, we also have a responsibility in it, the messengers also give rules of conduct, guidelines on how we can live life righteously, without telling us exactly how to do so. A good example of this is the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which includes aspects such as right vision, right thought, right speech, and right way of living, intentionally not specifying what is right, thereby inviting us to think about it for ourselves and to look inwardly for answers. In addition to the outer or exoteric teaching, there is a more inner or esoteric teaching, also known as the doctrine of the heart, because it focuses on what is hidden from the outer eye. And although we may suggest that there is a separation between the two systems, the fact is that the exoteric and the esoteric teachings are intimately connected. They gradually merge into one another. The inner teaching is for men who have made already more progress along the path and thereby not only have acquired more wisdom, but also, and above all, have shown that they apply it selfishly in their lives. The esoteric teachings provide a deeper insight into the more inner processes of nature. And unlike the exoteric, the esoteric teachings also cannot be given all at once, but only step by step, with hints and clues that enable the student to gradually understand the deeper meaning of the processes in nature. Then by applying these insights, we bring the latent abilities that are present within us further and further into action. This enables us to increasingly become a living expression of this wisdom. For those who truly want to master this wisdom, who truly want to be constantly working with it, truly want to live by it, and also want to pass it on, there are conditions or requirements that a teacher set for every aspirant on the path in order to receive more. First, it is important that we examine the wisdom by ourselves for truth. We must see its logic and learn to understand its meaning. And how better could we do this than by examining this wisdom in the same way that the teachers themselves did and are still doing so up to today, by testing, verifying, applying, and living it. Secondly, it is important that this wisdom is always applied with the right motive, by using it for the whole and not using it for selfish purposes. And the third aspect is that what is received is passed on as purely as possible, so without adding anything that is not based on truth or removing things. The teachings must be kept intact. The teachers apply the rule that the disciples' readiness to receive wisdom must be equal to the desire to instruct. All illumination must come from within. And although we often only know the names of the messengers, they always work together with the entire hierarchy of wisdom and compassion to bring these impulses. In this way, the stream of wisdom is brought through many and many intermediate links, from the heart of the cosmos to our external plane. And to ensure that this stream continues and thereby reaches as many people as possible, these messengers gather a group of people around them during their lifetime who want to receive this wisdom. They actively cooperate with them, both to spread the teachings as to pass the teachings on to them. Because every generation needs interpreters, people who have learned how to live the teachings and pass them on, even when the messengers themselves are gone. to keep the link unbroken, and to keep the teachings pure and prevent degeneration. In this way, ensuring that the teachings can keep on functioning as a good signpost, both for current and for future generations. An important aspect in the way the teachings are brought is that the Lodge of Wisdom and Compassion always respects the free will. They never impose or force. Respect for the free will is an important element or attribute of compassion. This gives everyone the space for their own development. True wisdom, as we already have indicated, can only come from within, and any form of pressure will have a negative influence on this process. They work in such a way that the inspiration they bring can be freely adopted or accepted by us, so we can examine and explore it, allowing us to discover the truth of it for ourselves and to live it correspondingly by connecting with it internally. In this way, we can activate what is already present within us, with compassion always at starting point for going the inner path. Now that we have reached the end of this lecture, let us look back once more at the most important characteristics for the Lodge working methods. First, the quality of their inspiration is always compassion, based on the processes in nature which have been investigated on truth by themselves. In doing so, they always focus on harmony and progression for the whole, whereby a continuous stream of inspiration emanates from them, reinforced at cyclical moments. And this reinforcement is brought by a messenger, attuning the teachings to the consciousness and mentality of humanity at a particular time. And in doing so, they bring both an exoteric and an esoteric doctrine, always in respect of the free will. So to conclude the lecture, we can say that inspiration is always there, and that it is up to us to attune to this inspiration and start working with it, by living it and passing it on. In the following lecture, we will explore further on how we can do this. Thank you for listening.